and this is a pretty giant wine glass, if I do say so myself, but you know, for the hard days. Hey guys, I'm Kristen, also known as Voolenvine, here on my YouTube channel, on Instagram where I'm most active when it comes to social media, on Ravelry, and pretty much everywhere else on the web. And as always, I'm so happy that you're taking some time out of your day to chat about all the knitting, all the sewing, all the making, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down. And if you are a new viewer, welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy. If you are into the knitting and the sewing and the making, then please like and subscribe below. I put out a new episode every Friday, and yeah, it's a weekly podcast just talking about what I've been making. And yeah, before I get into that, just a couple of announcements. Vogue Knitting Live is coming up. That is a little bit more than 2 weeks away, and I'm super excited. I will be going. I'll definitely be going that Saturday. I just haven't decided if I'm going to be going on Friday or Sunday, but definitely Saturday. So if you see me wandering around, please do come up, say hello. I would love to meet you. I will not be vending there. I'm just going as me, Kristen, for the friends, for the yarn, and just the all-around awesomeness that is Vogue Knitting Live. So if you are going, safe travels, and I hope to see you there. The other announcement is that we are quickly coming upon 300 episodes of this podcast, which is insane. I haven't decided if I'm going to be doing anything special, but I will be having a special guest. If you are not familiar, Emily, who is Slow Fashion Rebel, she works for me. She packages all the orders for Voolenvine yarns. She's been dyeing yarn, and she's been amazing at it. And she's been working for me for about a whole year now. And it's crazy that she has not been on the podcast. So I thought it was high time to invite her on. If you haven't checked out her own podcast, she has the Slow Fashion Rebel podcast on YouTube. And of course I will link to it in the doobly-doo up here so you can check it out, and yeah, follow her on Instagram as Slow Fashion Rebel. But I'm super excited to have her on the podcast. And so without further ado, before I get into what I've been making this week, just a quick word from my awesome sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, business, tech, and more, even sewing and the fiber arts. As you probably know, I love learning new things when it comes to knitting, sewing, photography, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down, which is why I'm all about binge watching classes on Skillshare. And because I know you love learning new things too, I partnered up with Skillshare, and they are offering you, my viewers, 2 months free to try their platform. So give Skillshare a go and learn something new. Just click the link in the description box below and enter the code at checkout. Enjoy! And thanks, Skillshare! And welcome back. Alright, let's talk finished objects because I'm currently wearing an FO. This is the Ingalls sweater, a really wonderful pattern by Caitlin Hunter, who is Boyland Knitworks. And yeah, I showed this off on the podcast last week. It was off the needles, it was finished, but it had not been blocked. But this week it's blocked and I'm wearing it, obviously. And you guys, I am in love. I love this sweater so much. It's been getting so much wear since I finished knitting it. And yeah, I guess I will stand up so you can see. It is a very simple, basic shaped pullover with this really beautiful colorwork detail with some eyelet, some lace, very, very simple lace detail before it gets into the colorwork. And to kind of get in a little closer, for the contrasting color, the yarn that I use for this is my hand-dyed yarn, Voolenvine yarns, in my Smitten DK base, which is a merino nylon cashmere blend. And this is my Weep color, and then for the contrasting colorway I used Succulents, and I actually held it together with Ghost Lace, my mohair silk lace weight base that has this really, really beautiful halo. I don't know, it just it's not too intense, but it just adds like a very subtle kind of halo effect to it, which I really, really love. So yeah, and then I alternated skeins every other row. So you can see a little bit of flashing over here, but nothing too intense. And I was a little concerned about the cuffs being a little too tight because I didn't do a stretchy bind off, but after I blocked it, it kind of loosened up a bit and I don't mind it as much. So I don't think I'm gonna rip back, but I love how it does this kind of mushroom effect, just kind of like billowy sleeve detail. But yeah, it's done and I love it. As I mentioned, I'm going to be wearing this to Vogue Knitting Live, and yeah, highly recommend this pattern. It knit up super quickly, and you know, I would say if you're new to colorwork, this is a very colorwork newbie friendly pattern. There's nothing too crazy about it other than, you know, kind of catching your floats here and there, but this knit up super quickly for me, and then the rest is all just stockinette, stockinette in the round. I mean, that's also why I cast on with the fade, just kind of mix things up a little bit, add a little color into my life, because yeah, as you can see, this is all just kind of like gray stockinette in the round, but at the same time, at the end of a day, at the end of a long day, it was just exactly what I needed. So yay, Ingalls sweater is done, and I love it, and I think I'm going to take it off because it is kind of toasty in here. Minor costume change. As you can see, I'm wearing something rather very glitzy, and I will discuss this in the sewing segment, but you know, in case you're curious about why I'm all dressed up. But anyway, it's a podcast. I go all out for you guys. I don't mind dressing up in a fancy number to podcast because why not? But anyway, I will talk more about this outfit in the sewing segment coming up next. But as far as whips are concerned, since we're still on the topic of Caitlin Hunter, when one casts off or binds off or finishes a sweater pattern, it just makes sense to cast on another one, right? So I had the crazy idea that I was going to knit a second Vogue Knitting Live sweater, because I'm delusional, and also the grocery girls are hosting a speedy sweater knit along for the month of January, and you all know how I love a challenge, so I was like, I can totally do that. I go stash diving and pull out 2 skeins that I got at Indian Tangled last year, or feels like this year, but it just happened in October. So these are 2 skeins of Viola yarns that I purchased at Indian Tangled in her dark earth color. I'm just so in love with this shade because I don't know, it's like a grayish brown, and it's been burning a hole in my stash for not very long, but it's been calling out to me to cast on and work with it. And I was browsing Ravelry, and I know I was. Long story short, and again, I'll talk more about this in the sewing section, and I stumbled on the Metamorphic Dress by So Liberated, and one of the photos actually features the dress, the Metamorphic Dress, and I'll pop a photo of it here. The model is actually wearing a tenya on top of her Metamorphic Dress, and I just thought, all right, that I love the look of that. So I'm gonna make a metamorphic dress and a tenya. So I cast on a tenya using the Viola yarn, and at this point I really doubt that I'm gonna have a finished sweater by Vogue Knitting Live unless this is all that I do, because, well, you know, it's not impossible, because as soon as I'm done knitting the lace portion, it's again just stockinette in the round, and contrast to the Ingalls sweater, which is knit top down, this one is knit top up, or bottom up, I should say. So, you know, and it is kind of like a cropped top, so it is doable, but I'm not holding myself to anything. So, but this is where I am with my tenya. Again, another really awesome pattern by Caitlin Hunter, and I don't know why, I was on the fence about casting on this pattern from the get-go. It was a really beautiful pattern, and I've been eyeing it for a while, but something about it, like, I'm not very into ruffles, and for some reason the lace bit reminded me of a ruffle a little bit, but seeing it paired with the Metamorphic Dress, or that style of dress, just kind of chucked over kind of like a very loose-fitting casual dress, just, I was like, all right, that has to be my wardrobe. So I cast it on immediately. And yeah, it's just, zoom in so you can see, but yeah, I just really, really love the way these 2 strands of yarn are playing together. I'm just holding both strands together. And again, mohair, you guys, it's having a really big moment right now. Oh, as far as gauge, the pattern says it's really, really imperative that you do a gauge swatch. And if you know me, I really don't like knitting swatches, but the pattern calls for a US size 3 needle, but she says test knitters, their gauges ranged from US size 3 all the way up to a US size 7, and so I was like, all right, that's a really wide gap. So I did do a gauge swatch, and I settled with a US 6. That's how I got gauge, and I'm knitting the... Am I knitting the smallest size? I believe I'm knitting the smallest size. I think I went with the smallest size, so hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll all work out. Socks for Dennis. This is between the Tenya and the socks for Dennis. This is all I've been working on. And yeah, as you can see, my red yarn came. I was, I think, about here when I showed it to you on the podcast last. And yeah, my red Patons Kroy solid red yarn came in the mail the same day that I podcasted last week, and I was able to knit the heel and I knit the foot, and now I am all the way down here. I think I have one more stripe to go, and then I can start the toe. And yeah, I have to say that Dennis he likes longer legs when it comes to hand knit socks. So I believe the leg is about 7 inches, and then his foot is about the same length. So I'm knitting 2 tubes, 14 inches of stockinette in the round when it comes to his socks. But yeah. Yeah, just a basic 2x2 rib, fish lips kiss heel. That shape seems to fit him really well. And I'm just going to do a basic decrease grafted Kitchener stitch toe when it comes to knitting socks. This is how much yarn that I have left over from the Skein of Patons Kroy. And this is their blue stripe rag colorway, which is a very popular colorway. Again, I feel like if you haven't knit with this colorway, you know, it's required. It's not required, but I feel like it's a knitting classic, if you will. But because I feel like everyone's knit with this colorway, and yeah, no. And it's living in a drawstring project bag that I whipped up for myself. Which, by the way, a lot of you have been reaching out and, you know, requesting a pattern for my project bags that I whip up. And I have to say, I got this pattern from a free tutorial online called incolororder.com, and I will link to it below. However, my other project bags, I totally improvised these project bags, and I would like to do a video tutorial at some point, but it is a lot of work. So you know, I kind of have to plan it out and work it into my schedule. But I would really like to offer a tutorial to you guys, because I have been getting asked quite a bit to provide a pattern or some kind of tutorial for making those project bags. So I am working on it, so please stay tuned for that. However, I'm sure if you just search on Pinterest or Google for project bag, zipper project bag sewing tutorial, there are quite a few tutorials out there already that you can kind of, you know, improvise your own, because really it's just you're cutting out rectangles and getting a zipper. So you're basing the size of your bag on the length of the zipper, and then just sewing rectangles until the cows come home. So but yeah, in the meantime, I'm gonna try and put something together for you guys, but in case you're curious. But anyway, that is it for the knitting content. I am gonna move along to sewing. And yeah, the elephant sitting in the room is this glitzy number right here. This is the Maya dress, a pattern by Marilla Walker. Is it Marilla Walker or Maria Walker? Because I know in Spanish the 2 L's together create a y, or in Argentina it's the zh sound. So I'm just gonna say Marilla Walker, but it could also be Maria Walker. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, this is a pattern by Maria Walker. It's the Maya dress, and I will stand. So yeah, it's just a very basic kind of dolman sleeve shift dress with a tie at the waist. And so the pattern gives you the option to either make a top or a dress version. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a pocket right here. So the fabric that I'm using is kind of like this really awesome glitter, metallic gold linen cotton blend, I want to say. And thank you so much to everybody who I posted about this on Instagram, and I was a little bit concerned about this fabric because it's a very bulky, or not bulky, but very, very stiff fabric when you first get it. And I did pre-wash it before I sewed it. However, it was still just a bit stiff. But Skinanigans, who is Melissa, contacted me, and she said, you know, don't worry about it. I made a dress out of the same fabric, and the more you wash it, the more abrasive you get it in the washing machine, the more it softens up. And I put it through the wash about maybe 2 extra times with some other loads, and sure enough, it softened up a lot. So it has a lot more drape to it. It's a lot more fluid, but at the same time, it's not as soft as I would prefer it to be. At the same time, I feel like I'm still kind of wearing a glitzy burlap sack, if that makes sense. Burlap or potato sack, I don't know. It's still just a little bit too boxy on me, and I don't feel completely comfortable, although it did soften up a lot, I will say. And I'm thinking about taking the pocket off of this just because it's a little too casual for the actual fabric. I don't know exactly when I would wear this, maybe for my birthday, but it's not what I have in mind. I definitely want to make this pattern again, maybe out of some simple black fabric or some, softer linen. Something with a little bit more drape to it, but at the same time, it's just, I would definitely recommend this pattern. It's really beginner friendly. I was actually inspired to make this from watching, not watching, but following Joji Locatelli. She has a Instagram feed called at Joji Sews, and you can follow all of her sewing makes, and it's just really inspirational. And I saw that she made a Maya top out of some really beautiful yellow floral fabric, and I was just like, I want to make that pattern so badly. So I copycatted her just a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'll try and stand up again. It just kind of, I like the tie. It's very, I don't know, it has a lot of structure to it, which I'm not really used to wearing. I prefer to have like more kind of like drape and just a little bit more comfort in the things that I wear. I don't know. This is very formal. So anyway, yeah, that's the Maya dress. And because I love this pattern so much, I did make another version using more fluid drapey fabric. This is actually jersey. And because I ran out of fabric, I didn't have enough fabric to make a waistband tie. So I added elastic. However, I did a really crap job with the sewing in the elastic waistband. I thought that I sewed it on straight, but it's kind of wonky and very, very janky and slapdash. I have to pick it out and do it all over again, but I'll try and stand up, but it's just not, yeah. It does suit the pattern really well. I just wish I had more fabric for a proper tie. However, I think if I just redo the elastic, it'll be way more wearable. So yeah, anyway, yeah, that was my adventure sewing the Maya dress, and I will be making plenty more. So yeah, that is it for sewing. I will of course link to all the patterns that I mentioned down below, but as far as other sewing content, I think that is it. Next week I will show my other dress, because I did make a Belladonna dress by Deer and Joe, which another really awesome pattern. It fits really well, and I could totally see myself making another one, but that's for next week. And yeah, I guess I will move on to stash acquisitions. All right, so yeah, I was not naughty, but Dennis did spoil me for Christmas, for the holidays. He surprised me with a gift certificate to Webs, which is an online online yarn shop, and an actual physical store. I believe are they in Connecticut or Massachusetts? I don't know. I'm geographically impaired, so, but again, I will link to them in the show notes below, but they're a ginormous warehouse that you can actually go to and, shop for yarn. You can make a day of it if you so choose, but yeah, you can also order from them online. And what do you do when you get a gift certificate to a yarn shop? You buy yarn. And I had been wanting to make a weekender pullover by Andrea Mowry for the longest time, and a wonderful, kind viewer gifted me the pattern. Thank you so much. I don't know if you want me to mention your name, but she was so wonderful and gifted me the pattern, so thank you. So when I got that email, I was just like, all right, now I know what I'm gonna do with now I know what I'm gonna buy with my Webs gift certificate. So, I did a little browsing, and I purchased a sweater's quantity worth of Fibre Co, because I have to say, Fibre Co they're one of my favorite yarn brands. I love every time I knit with their yarns, it's just so, I always have a really good experience with them. And yeah, I just kind of made a beeline for their section on the website, and stumbled on their Arranmore base, which is a tweedy blend of fine merino wool, cashmere, and silk. So I treated myself. So I got 6 skeins, and this is there, and I'm totally gonna butcher the name. The shade name is Glenveagh Castle, so Glenveagh, Castle. So yeah, just a basic gray tweed. Has like, I want to say taupe and white and gray and black bits of noil in here, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So I've already started swatching, and someone actually, I was looking, this is why I love Ravelry, because I got to search projects for the Weekender pullover, and sure enough, there was one person actually, who knit the pattern using the same yarn base, the same brand and same base. So it was really helpful to see what their gauge was, and just kind of use their notes to kind of guide my selection of needles to swatch with. And so far, I think I've met gauge. I'm looking off camera for my swatch, and it's over there. And I think it's a size 6 that I'm using. I might have to go up a needle size. I'm not 100% sure, but I haven't blocked it yet, so we shall see. And this was also just kind of like a little stocking stuffer that Dennis gifted me, but I opened it and I was like, oh my god, you were the best. He got me a wine glass. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but etched into the wine glass it says Sewciopath. So like Sewciopath, like sociopath. Get it? Yeah. And this is a pretty giant wine glass, if I do say so myself, but for the hard days. Anyway, in case you haven't guessed, I like wine, and Dennis definitely had my number this year. So anyway, all right, so that is the content for the episode, my friends. I am going to move along to the Blather segment, where I chat about what's been happening in my life, should you care to stick around. But just a quick update about my shop update, VoolenvineYarns.com. I will be having an update this Friday, January 11th at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and it's going to be a very big update. So Emily and I have been working super hard this week, just catching up with fulfilling orders and dyeing all the yarn. So there will be lots of your favorite colorways in stock. I am doing another round of sparkling cider hats, but not this week. Those will come next week, and then I'm going to be offering more kits for Ellie's Linnea. I can never pronounce the name, so I'll just put it in the down bar. I think that Linnea Vinea socks. They're these really beautiful colorwork socks that she knit using my footsie base in Vampmas and Driven Snow, so I will have more of those next week as well, in case you were wondering. Motorcycles. And if you'd like to find out what colorways and bases will be in the shop this week and future weeks, you can always sign up for the newsletter. As I mention every week, just go to my website, enter your email address, and every week I send out a newsletter letting you know all the details. And yeah, I hope you guys can make it. Okay, so moving on to Blather. What's been happening in my life? Yeah, just catching up with work this week. It's been a busy week. I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking forward to the weekend of just kind of relaxing and chilling and sewing and making, and yeah. So far, I've been sticking to some new boundaries that I've set for myself when it comes to my work schedule. Although it is my goal to start the day at 9 and end at 5. So, I have a habit of, just because my dye studio is technically in my home, it's in the basement of our house, I have a hard time kind of separating work and personal life. So I have a habit of just kind of working beyond typical work hours. I'm a workaholic, let's be honest. So I think just kind of putting like a cap on when I need to stop working, is going to be super helpful. And so far I've been really good at stopping at 6 o'clock. So at least there's that. However, I would like to make it to 5 o'clock. So yeah, just a little bit more. I think because this week has just been a lot of catching up, it's, I've been going overtime, so to speak. So yeah, I'm still working on that. And yeah, just, focusing on my word of the year, growth, embracing growth and change. And, it was really fun to hear a lot of you had the same or similar words of the year, or phrases of the year, I should say. So, yeah. And I was actually listening to the Happier podcast with Gretchen Rubin, and that was Gretchen's word of the year as well, and I just kind of did a little happy dance while I was dyeing yarn. Like, it's mine too. So anyway, it seems like it's a common theme this year, which is awesome. So let's all grow together, shall we? Otherwise, I really haven't set any solid New Year's resolutions. I hate setting resolutions. I never stick to them. I did hop on the treadmill and run one day during this week. However, I'm not going to be making a habit of it. It's just, I know I tried in this past year. However, I hate working out. I hate running. However, it is a really good stress reliever, and I was just feeling I woke up feeling a little bit overwhelmed and a little bit stressed out one morning, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna run it off. And I ran on the treadmill for about 25 minutes, and at a moderate pace, I think like 6 miles per hour, so it was like 2.5 miles that I ran, and just popped on some Taylor Swift, some Beyonce, and whatever else was on my iPod, and just ran it off, and I just felt so much better. So I think if I am gonna continue running, it's just going to be for that purpose of just if I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed. It's a really good stress reliever. So I think I will definitely be implementing that into my routine, if that makes any sense. So yeah, because otherwise I just can't hold myself to running on a regular basis. I'm not that person. I've been re-listening to the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. This is my third time rereading it, and every time I re-listen to that series, I pick up on so many details that I missed in the first 2 listens of it, and I just fall in love with that series over and over again. It's just so, I love Sarah J. Maas's writing. It's just so brilliant. And anyway, highly recommend it if you are into fairies, fantasy, and sci-fi, and just action type things, so to speak. And again, it might not be for everybody, but there are some adult themes in there. But for me, I really, really do enjoy the series. And yes, so I think that's it, and I will end things there. If you enjoyed this podcast, as always, feel free to like and subscribe below. I put out a new episode every Friday, and if you haven't already, feel free to join the Voolenvine Ravelry group. It's the place to be if you want to join in any of our knit-alongs, our make-alongs, and just general chatter about the podcast. Which, by the way, Emily, Soul Fashion Rebel, she's just joined as a moderator, so yay! So it's so awesome to finally have a moderator helping out in there, and she's been doing an awesome job. So she's there to answer your questions, join the chatter, and if I'm not available to answer any questions, she's just going to be keeping an eye on the threads and answering any queries you might have. So thank you so much, Emily. And yeah, and I forgot to mention at the top of the episode, Box of Socks Knit Along 2019 and You're the Garment Knit Along 2019 are currently underway. I opened threads for those, so hop on over there and check them out. And I think that is it. So I'm going to end things there. Happy knitting, and I will see you next time. Bye!